Good evening, and thank you for joining our Livingston Parish Algebra 1 EOC review. Tonight we'll be working on the North Carolina released EOC test, questions 1 through 20. This test is a little more challenging than the Florida and Texas tests that we've worked. I believe that if you can understand the material that's on this test, you will definitely be moving toward getting an excellent on our Louisiana EOC, plus doing great on your final exam grade. Remember, the EOC is 15% of your final grade. It is the largest of the categories. It's even more points than the regular assessment. So it's very important that we do good on this. I know you've been working hard on it, so thank you for sticking with us and thank you for working hard. Okay, question number 1. It says Jesse's ride to school is 5 minutes more than 2/3 the time of Robert. We have to remember of means multiply. So if Robert is on the x-axis and Jesse is on the y-axis, then this means that Jesse's length of bus time is 5 minutes more than 2/3 the time of Robert. Or another way of saying it is y or Jesse equals to 2/3 x plus 5. That's the line that we're looking for. It can't be A because the y-intercept is not 5. It might be C. Let's check our rise. They're counting by 5, so we can just count blocks. Okay, we have a rise of 3, a run of 2. Okay, but that would be 3 over 2x plus 5. Let's go on down. Okay, B, we have a y-intercept of 5. We have a rise of 2 and a run of 3. That slope is 2/3. So B would be our answer because Jesse's, okay, his ride is 5 minutes longer than 2/3 of Robert's. Okay, which could be modeled by the graph below. Okay, the number of apples y minus 2 times the number of pounds of oranges x is at most means less than or equal to. That means it can be less than that, but it can't go over it. Okay, if we solve this for y, you get y less than or equal to 2x plus 5. First of all, we notice it's a solid line because it is less than or equal to. Less than, they have shaded down. The y-intercept is 5. Let's check our rate of change. We go down 2 over 1. Down 2 over 1. But that slope has a negative slope, and we're looking for something with a slope of that doesn't match that. This looks to me, this is y less than or equal to negative 2x plus 5. Let's keep looking. It says the number of apples y minus half the number of pounds of oranges x is at most 5. Well, let's see. If you add half x to both sides, you get y less than or equal to positive half x plus 5. Okay, but that line does not have a slope of positive half, so it can't be B. Let's look at this one. The number of pounds of apples y plus 2 times the number of pounds x is at most 5. If you subtract 2x from both sides, you get y less than or equal to negative 2x plus 5, and that's what we wanted. So C is your answer. Which expression is equivalent to this? We know this factoring the difference of two perfect squares. The square root of t squared is t. Since 36 is negative 36, that's a perfect square. We go t minus 6, t plus 6. It doesn't matter which order you write these in. In fact, B is the answer. Okay, which is this graph? One thing I notice, I always look for in a parabola or any graph, the y-intercept a lot of times gives it away. At the y-intercept, remember, x is always equal to 0. If we plug in 0 for x, we get a y-intercept of 7. So let's check and see what the y-intercept is. Well, here the y-intercept is 4, so it can't be A. B, look, it keeps on going. Goodness knows whatever that y-intercept is going to be. It's not 7. Keep on going down. C, the y-intercept is 10. That's not it. Okay, and look right there. Look at D, the y-intercept is 7. Okay, and that's the only one. So that is true. That is a positive 4. We know it's concave up. Since 4 is an integer, we know also we're going to get a very narrow graph. And look how narrow that graph is. So D would be our answer. One thing that I do when I take something like the EOC is it's not its own computer. You are given scratch paper. What I do is for each choice, it's multiple choice. I write this down somewhere on my scratch paper. So when I'm ready to work number 4, okay, as I saw that it couldn't be A, B, okay, I scratch them out. And then another thing you might want to do is you might want to circle the one that it was on your scratch paper. That way, if there's a power failure or something happens and your data doesn't go through, you will have your answers recorded on your scratch paper and you won't have to do all that work over again. Okay, let's look at number 5. You've got a rectangular cage and its length, and we know in a rectangle the length is the longer side. It's 4 feet greater than its width, W. So W is the width. The length is 4 feet greater than its width, so the width is W plus 4. But then James is going to increase both dimensions by 2 feet. He's going to add 2 feet to that side, 2 feet to that side there. Which equation represents the new area? Okay, well, what he'll do for area, since it's a rectangle, is he'll multiply the width, which is W plus 2, times this length, which is W plus 6. And so that will give the new area. So that's going to be W squared plus 6W plus 2W plus 12, and then if we combine our like terms, we get D for the answer. Okay, we're going to do some constructive response questions now. Okay, Sean and Curtis went for a walk. Sean began walking 20 seconds earlier than Curtis. Okay, Curtis walked at a speed of 6 feet per second. Okay, Sean walked 5 feet per second. Okay, for how many seconds had Sean been walking at the moment when the two walked exactly the same distance? First of all, I'm going to let T be Curtis's time walking. Anytime you solve a word problem, whichever quantity is less is what you want the variable to be. So T is going to be Curtis's time, because that's going to be the smaller. Sean's time will be T plus 20 because he had that 20-second head start. Now you have to remember a little equation when you're doing these, that the distance is equal to rate times time. Okay, and we know that Sean's rate was 5 feet per second. He walked for T plus 20 seconds. So Sean's distance is 5 times T plus 20. Curtis's time was T. Curtis walked 6 feet per second. So Curtis's distance was 6 feet per second. We want to know when they walked exactly the same distance. In other words, when was Sean's distance equal to Curtis's distance? So we're going to distribute, and that gives you 5T plus 100 equal to 6T. Subtract your 5T. That's 100 equal to T. So that's Curtis. Curtis had walked 100 seconds when he caught up with Sean. Okay, but we want to know for how many seconds had Sean been walking. It's very important to close read when you're taking the EOC. Since you are not doing this on paper, it's perfectly okay to put your finger on the computer screen and just kind of pretend you're close reading. I recommend that you read slowly and take your time and do a lot of good close reading. Okay, so we want to know how many seconds had Sean been. Well, T is 100, so that was Curtis's time. Sean had that 20-second head start, so the answer is 120 seconds for Sean. They could easily ask you how far did both boys walk. In that case, you would just plug back in T. 6 times 100 is 600. Okay, so 600 feet. Sean, 100 plus 20 is 120. Times 5 also gives you 600 feet. Okay, this one now. Okay, this is going to be a system. Okay. How much does a candy bar sell for? So I'm going to let C be the cost of a candy bar. And I'm going to let D be the cost of a drink. Now, if you get this on a constructive response question, please, instead of doing the little dittos, actually write that out. You need to define your variables if you have to write an equation. Always tell what the variables are going to be. Alright, so let's see. We see here that, okay, 60 candy bars plus 110 drinks cost $2.65. And then we see from this equation that 120 candy bars plus 90 drinks equal $2.70. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this top equation by -2. That way that will give me -120. Then I'll make that +120. That'll cancel, and I can find out what the drinks cost. Then once I know that, I can go back and find out what they're selling candy bars for. So I'm going to multiply that top equation by -2. That gives you -120C minus 220D equal to 265 times 2. Remember, this is on their no calculator part. It's 530. I'm going to leave the bottom equation like it was. Okay, and now we can combine. -220 plus 90 is 130. And that was -530 because that was -2 times 265. That's -260. Divide both sides by -130. And that tells you that D is 2. So they're selling drinks for $2 a piece. Let's find out candy bars now. Okay, what you do is you go back to one of the original equations, whichever one looks the easiest for you. I think I'm going to go with the green one. So 120 candy bars plus 90 drinks is $2.70, but we just found out they're selling those drinks for $2 each. So that's 120 candy bars plus 180 equal to 270. Subtract that 180 from both sides. We know that 120 candy bars is $90. Divide by 120. I can reduce this fraction. The zeros are going to cancel. 3 goes into 9 3 times. 3 goes into 12 4 times. That's 3/4 of $1 or 75 cents. So they're selling candy bars for 75 cents each. Okay, consecutive positive integers. Okay, remember consecutive positive integers are integers that come right after each other. For example, if I'm going to let x be the smallest, well, the next one will be one more than that, so it'll be x plus 1 be the second. And let's let x plus 2 be the largest. Now we're ready to write our equation. Okay, it says if the product of the smaller two integers, so if we multiply the smaller two, that's x times x plus 1, is 5 less than 5 times the largest. Well, 5 times the largest is going to be 5 times x plus 2. 5 less than that would be minus 5. We need to solve this equation. So that will be x squared plus x equal to 5x plus 10, take away 5. This equation is degree 2 or higher, which means we need to make it equal to 0 and solve. So let's see. That plus 5. To make it equal to 0, we would subtract 5x from both sides. We would also subtract 5 from both sides. So that will give you x squared minus 4x minus 5 equal to 0. Let's see if we can factor it. X squared minus 4x minus 5 equal to 0. We think what multiplies to give us negative 5 adds to give us negative 4. That'd be x minus 5x plus 1 equal to 0. We use our zero product factor property and we realize the zeros are 5 and negative 1. So our answers are 5 and negative 1. They want the smallest, but they want the positive. So we're going to just ignore the negative. So the smallest was 5, which was their answer, what they wanted. The next would be 6. The next would be 7. Just to check, the product of the smaller two numbers would be 5 times 6. That's 30. 5 less than 5 times the largest. Well, 5 times the largest would be 5 times 7, which is 35. 5 less than that would be 30. So that does work out. Okay, let's look at this one. We want to know how long it would take this object to hit the ground. Well, first of all, when something hits the ground, that means that its height is 0. So we need to solve this equation. We know quadratic formula will solve any quadratic equation, but before that happens, let's see if it can be solved by factoring. I see a greatest common factor of negative 5. Let's bring that out first. Negative 5 times what gives us negative 5t squared? T squared. Negative 5 times what gives us positive 20t? That would be, okay, minus 4t. And then negative 5 times what gives us positive 60? That will be negative 12. Okay. Let's think if we can, what would multiply to give us negative 12, add to give us negative 4. I'm thinking negative 6 times positive 2 would. So let's plug that in. Okay, so that's going to give us negative 5. And remember on the parabola, that's just our stretching number. That is not going to give us our zeros. So that would be t minus 6, t plus 2. So we get positive 6, negative 3. Negative 2. Time cannot be negative. So the answer is 6 seconds. Okay, let's look at this one now. Okay, 2 times Antonio's age plus 3 times Sarah's age equals 84. So let's let A be Antonio's age. And let's let S be Sarah's age. We have 2 equations, we have 2 sentences, 2 equations, 2 variables. We know we can set up a system. So we know that 2 times Antonio's age plus 3 times Sarah's age equals 34. So that's our first equation. And it says Sarah's age is, Sarah will let that be S. Sarah's age is also 5 times Antonio's age. If we make that in standard form, we can subtract 5A from both sides. That gives you negative 5A plus S equal to 0. Okay. I notice here I want Sarah's age, so I'm going to eliminate Antonio totally, and we'll just talk about Sarah. Positive 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. So this equation, if the coefficient of A is positive 10, and the coefficient here is negative 10, then we can cancel that out. So let's do that. Let's multiply the top equation times positive 5. So that's going to give you 10A plus 15S equal to 170. Okay, in the bottom equation, we're going to multiply it times positive 2. That gives you negative 10A minus 2S equal to 0. Okay, and now we can combine those, and that's going to give us 13S equal to 170. Divide 13. So let's see, 13. Okay, and I don't think I'm right here. Let's see. Let's see, 2 times Antonio's age plus 3 times Sarah's age equals 34. That's right. Okay, Sarah's age is also 5 times Antonio's age, so we can subtract that. So let's see, that would be 10A plus 15S, 5 times 34 is 170. Okay, and then this one we multiply by 2, that gives you negative 10A. Ah, I see my mistake. I bet you already saw it. That should have been plus 2S. Why didn't somebody say something? Okay, all right. And that gives you 17. Thank goodness we caught that. I hope Oprah's not watching. This would be so embarrassing. All right, and so, okay, and your answer is 10. So Sarah is 10 years old. Okay, let's look at this one now. First of all, we have to remember something about exponential functions. Remember exponential functions, okay, you always start at the, think about the y-intercept. If the y-intercept x equals 0, 2 to the 0 is 1, because anything to the 0 power is 1, times 2 is 2. So the original parent function would look like this. And if you remember from the parent functions, they have a horizontal asymptote of y equals 0. Okay, now they want us to do something here, and they're doing something to k. Remember, k is the thing that shifts your function up and down. And if I look at this, the horizontal asymptote has been moved to y equal -5. So the value of k is -5. They've taken that function and they've shifted it down 5 units. Number 12. Okay, Michaela wants to rent 7 movies, and f of x is the cost to rent movies. She wants to rent 7 of them, so that's 14 plus 12. That's going to cost her $26. Okay, she's got $10 now. So how many more dollars does she need? That would just be 26 minus 10. So she still needs $16. Okay, this one now, you've got a right triangle, and the larger leg of the right triangle, remember the legs are, these are the legs, the ones that are perpendicular. It's 3 centimeters longer than the smaller. So I'm going to let x be the smaller, and that means the larger is x plus 3. So x is the smaller, the larger is x plus 3. And it says the hypotenuse is 6 centimeters longer than the smaller leg, so that'd be x plus 6. Okay, how many centimeters long is the smaller leg? First of all, since it's a right triangle, we know that we can use our Pythagorean theorem, which is a squared plus b squared equal to c squared. Doesn't matter what a and b are, it can be either leg as long as we remember to make c the hypotenuse. So we're going to have x squared plus x plus 3 squared equal x plus 6 squared. And we're going to have to solve this. Okay, so that's going to be x squared. Remember, when you square a binomial, you have to write it out twice. So that's x plus 3 times x plus 3 equal to x plus 6, x plus 6. So let's distribute this one out. That would be x squared plus 3x plus 3 more x plus 9, and then x squared plus that. And this will be x squared plus 6x plus 6x plus 36. Combine our like terms on both sides. If we simplify that, that's 2x squared plus 6x plus 9 equal x squared plus 12x plus 36. We want to make this equal to 0, so let's subtract x squared from both sides. Subtract 12x from both sides. Subtract 36 from both sides. Because we know when we solve any equation degree 2 or higher, we have to make it equal to 0. See, 2x squared, take away x squared is x squared. 6x take away 12x is minus 6x. And then 9 from 36 is negative 27. We have to think what multiplies to give us negative 27 adds to give us 6. That's negative 9, positive 3. So our answers are 9 and negative 3. They wanted the length of that shortest side. We know lengths cannot be negative. So the answer for this would be 9 centimeters. Some years I've seen them ask for the perimeter of that triangle. So you would do 9 plus 3, you get 12 for that side. 9 plus 6, 15 that side, and then you would add them together. Okay, let's look at this one now. Okay, they're playing a game. Let's see. You got Katie's points and Jennifer. And, okay, all right. At the start of the first turn, they both have 100 points. But it says at the end of each turn, Katie's points doubles. So at the start of the second term, she's going to have 200 points. Okay, and Jennifer's points are going to increase by 200. So instead of doubling, okay, she gets 200 increased. So at the beginning of the second term, okay, she'll have 300. Okay, for the third term, okay, Katie's points double again. She gets 400 now. Okay, Jennifer's increased by 200, so she will have 500. Now at the beginning of the fourth term, okay, Katie's doubles again. She has 800. Okay, and Jennifer's have increased by 200, so she will have 700. So at the start of the fourth term, Katie will have more. While we're talking about these, by the way, the reason why Katie catches up is because, first of all, look at these, her numbers. Is this an arithmetic or a geometric sequence? You'll notice that it's being multiplied by 2 each time. We know that's geometric. Okay. And then Jennifer, she's adding 200 each time. We notice that that's an arithmetic sequence. And we know arithmetic sequences are linear, whereas we know geometric sequences are exponential. They start and then they take off, and when they take off, they really take off. Okay, number 15 we are not going to worry about. That is not a Louisiana standard. Okay, number 16. Okay, the calculator active sessions begin here. All right, 16 we are not going to worry about. 17 we are going to worry about. Okay, you've got candy bars, boxes of candy bars. Okay, all right. And, okay, you want to make a profit of $10 per box. Okay, well, first of all, each box costs $30. Okay, to make a profit, okay, you've got to sell those candy bars. Okay, and so the way we're going to sell those candy bars is, let's let X be the price of a bar. Okay, so 50X is going to be the money that we take in when we sell those candy bars. Okay, the box cost us $30, so we're going to have to pay somebody $30 for that box of candy bars. We will make a profit of $10. We get to keep $10. So let's add 30 to both sides. Divide both sides by 50. X is equal to 4/5 of a dollar. On your calculator, you can just divide, or you can divide 40 divided by 50. 4/5 of a dollar is 0.8, which is 80 cents. Okay, let's look at this one. E equals MC squared. They want us to find M. It's being multiplied by C squared, so we would just divide by C squared. Okay, all right. That'd be our answer. 19. What year did the car have a least value? First of all, looking at that function, we can see it's quadratic. The leading coefficient is positive. We know that it's concave up. We want to know the year that it had the least value. We're looking for the minimum. Maximum or minimum is found by finding the vertex. And remember, the way you find the vertex is negative b over 2a for the x number. And then if you need the y number, you plug that back in. So we're going to need b, there's a, there's c. So we have negative b Why do I have two negatives? Right, because one goes with the formula, the other one with their number, over 2a. And remember, whenever you multiply things on your calculator, if you've got more than one thing in the denominator or numerator, put an extra parentheses. Well, I got minus a minus, which is going to be a plus plus. Okay, so I'm going to do $458.3 divided by, and I need parentheses because I got more than one thing, 2 times $20.8. Close that parentheses, press enter. Okay, and we get 11 years from, and let's see, okay, zero. Okay, all right, and so 11 years from zero, the closest answer, okay, 64, and 11 years from that, because remember they're letting that be zero, okay, is 1975. Because then 11 years from 1964, that was just considered an old car. But then after 1975, it started becoming a classic. If we owned it now, we'd be rich. Okay, number 20. We have to remember our rule for raising a power to a power. What's our rule for raising a power to a power? We take those exponents and we multiply them. So you want to do 1/3 times -3. That cancels. So you have x to the -1, and we know that that's the same thing as 1 over x, because we can flip this down to the bottom and that exponent becomes positive. So B would be your answer. Okay. Average rate of change. Anytime you see average rate of change, okay, that's code word for slope. Okay, from week 8 to week 12. So week 8, the weight was 0.04. Okay, and week 12, it was 0.49. Okay, so we want the slope. And what is our slope formula? It is what? Y from the minus y from the over x from the second minus x from the first. So we're going to plug in our information. Okay, so we're going to plug in, remember this is x from the first, y first, x second, y second. So that'd be 0.49 minus 0.4 over 12 minus 8, so that is 0.45 over 4, and if you click that in your calculator, 0.45 divided by 4, because it was 4 years between there. Okay, we get D for the answer. Okay, all right, and at this time we're going to stop and we're going to take a break. This concludes our program for the North Carolina released questions 1 through 21. Let's stop, take a break, and in a few minutes come back and watch my exciting sequel, which will be the North Carolina released items questions 22 to 39. Thank you for watching.